Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. My name is Patricia. I believe everybody probably knows or have heard of me. Uh, with me today, I have Timo Solomon, partner that I'm sure most of you know or all of you know. Nathan Newberg, who's going to be doing the presentation today. And the newest member of our team, Laura Borer, who is your Director of Customer Success. And Laura, it looks like you're frozen over there.
Am I moving yet? Can you hear me okay?
Nope. We can hear you, but you're frozen. Anyways, I just wanted to introduce Laura. She'll be working with most of you. So thank you for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to Nathan so we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn my video off so that we have more bandwidth, but I will be monitoring the Q&A. And so if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to write them down in the Q&A, and we will either answer them as we go or we'll answer them at the end, depending on the question. So thank you so much again, and Nathan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Patricia. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and let us know where you're coming from. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Great. And I'm gonna share my screen here so we can walk through some of what's new in Acumatica 2022 R1. Can everybody see my screen okay? I'm projecting the production manager dashboard now. Does everybody see that?
Yeah, sure. Good.
One yes. Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Okay, let's get started. So in Acumatica, you know, we have a lot of out-of-the-box dashboards. And new in 2022 R1, we have a few that are focused on manufacturing for all of our manufacturing clients out there and prospects. You'll find those available in the dashboards view. We've got one called Production Meeting, a Production Manager, which we're looking at, and Engineering. I'm not going to talk too much about the KPIs and widgets on the dashboards now, but just wanted everyone to know that they are there. And Acumatica continues to work on dashboard features and functionality so that we can get all of our information in one place and make it easily accessible and easy to digest for us. A lot of information. Another new focus that Acumatica has put a lot of effort into is the mobile app. You'll notice that the mobile app is completely redesigned. I'm going to drag over here my, I've got a tablet connected to Acumatica, and if you guys can see that now, you'll notice some fresh look and feel in the mobile app. Definitely much more functional and user-friendly. We can customize the mobile app a lot more easily and dynamically now. Some of the new items that you'll find on the mobile app are this KPI section right here at the top. It's very easy to add some of these KPIs, widgets directly from dashboards that are already available in your Acumatica instance. And you can quickly add a new one just by searching for the widget name. So if I search here for AP, for example, I can add in documents to approve if I want to see that. That's one of the things that happens often, and there it is. So pretty easily. You can also rearrange the order of these by clicking Edit List and just dragging those widgets along the screen. There we go. And now they're in a different order, so I can have those important ones appear on top. Another one of the awesome functions that Acumatica has added are the recently visited screens and transactions. So if I was working with a transaction here in my desktop application, I can quickly jump over to my mobile app and see that it's been refreshed in my recently visited section. So I can have that continuity. If I'm working at the desk and I need to run out to the warehouse and check on that order, this updates dynamically for me as I work throughout the day. Another section we've added are the favorites. And just like the KPIs, we can add in here not only screens, but documents as well. So if I click over onto my familiar star here, I can see that I can add screens, but also records. So if there's an important order that I want to keep an eye on throughout the day and my recently visited list updates too often, I've got a lot to do. So if I want to keep an eye on those, I can pin them quickly to my favorites section. And just like in the desktop application, we can add new records as well quickly with the plus icon here. So if I wanted to add a new sales order on the fly, if I'm working on a quote or something out in the field, I can quickly add a new record just by clicking the plus icon. And further down the page, the largest, I think, change to the layout and look and feel is that Acumatica has added in workspaces. And this is rearranged much more like we are used to in the web application on our desktops. And we can navigate Acumatica through workspaces like we're used to doing every day on the desktop. So the mobile app is definitely getting more functional and feature rich as we progress through updated versions here. Let's go ahead and maximize our screen here. All right, one of the awesome new features, well, I should call it new functionality. It's been a feature for a while that Acumatica has added, are extending user-defined fields through CRM into activities, tasks, and events. So, for example, if we were to look at one of those records, we can open up a particular task, for example, and notice now that we have a user-defined fields tab. I've predefined one, but these can be set up just like on other screens using the customization and manage user-defined fields function. For users that have the permission to do so, we can add those user-defined fields right here on tasks, activities, and events. And
hey Nathan.
Yeah.
Can you kick up your resolution just a little bit? It's a little bit tiny. There you go. Thanks, sir.
That? Yeah, no, great suggestion. Thanks, Tim. Hope everybody can see that a little better now. We've got our user-defined field on a task screen. But that said, if we're working in CRM, for example, on a case, when we create a new case or edit a case, we can adjust our user-defined field, and those values will now carry through to any activity, task, or event created from within the case. So if I've defined my user-defined field here on my case, and I go ahead and create a new task, we can see that on the task, our user-defined field value carries through. So use your imagination a little bit, but anyone who's used a user-defined field before, this is great functionality for customizing your Acumatica installation for data that's valuable to you that may not be quite out of the box. We can do all of this with no code and quickly and easily use those fields to report on, drive generic inquiries and dashboards as we have elsewhere in the system. And you can see that we can even use those things for color coding our generic inquiries. If you guys have any more questions about that, feel free to reach out to us either in the chat here or reach out after the webinar, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have about user-defined fields and the power they carry. So we were talking about CRM and activities, but we can also use our Acumatica installation to generate emails, right? Now, anybody who's used email in Acumatica knows that it's got some work, but it's getting better. So you can see now that if I've got a new email here, and for example, I wanna drag in a sales order record, right? I've got a PDF somewhere else on my computer. I wanna drag and drop it into my email. My file gets added, and what used to happen in Acumatica is we would be prompted to first save this message as a draft so that Acumatica has a record onto which to attach our attachment. But now Acumatica has built in an autosave feature. So changes that are made, such as attaching files, don't require user intervention. We don't need to click save first. We just drag and drop it, and there it is, much more like we're used to in a fully featured email client. Another couple of innovations that have taken place is we don't need a to anymore. This to field used to be required. It's no longer required. So for example, if you want to send out some emails to a contact, but keep all the others secret, right? You don't want everybody on the list to see who's receiving this email. You can do that without a to field and just use a CC or BCC now. So let's save this and we can close out of that. Actually, let's open our recipient dialog. Here we can talk a little bit about the type column. So this wasn't available before, but now is. When we go to add a contact to our list of recipients, we can now see the type of contact that we have saved in the system. So we've got some leads, we've got some contacts. You can see here if we filter those, we'll also have salespeople and employees can be selected as well as recipients in the email. Let's close this one. If I were to create another email and say I want to work on this, I want to take out the to, I'm working on it, I don't have a subject yet. But if I save it without a subject, Acumatica will now insert the no subject so that we have some record to save our draft in, and we can work on those emails until they're ready to send out, have them saved in the system, and then when we're ready, click the send button. Acumatica has also renamed the template button up here. Used to say select source, which this makes a lot more sense if you ask me. If I click in here and select a template and I choose one of my templates from the list. Actually, let's add in a recipient here and I select the template. It will add in all of the body details with variables from our related entity. For example, in this case, we're using cases. Looks like that's having a little trouble there. But suffice to say that now we can add templates and know that they're templates. Don't have to look at what a source is or have to understand what a source is. Okay, also we have some new preference settings. So if we look at our email preferences, in the system, we have a new feature here to send user emails immediately. So if you're on the phone with a customer, you're dealing with a customer that's got an issue with their order, or you're opened up a new case in your CRM, and you want to send some information out to that customer right away, we don't have to wait for the system to run its email schedule anymore. Provided that suspend is off, we can now select the checkbox to send user emails immediately. And that means that when an email is generated by a user in the system and not through an automated process, that when the user clicks send, it will go out right away and not wait for the next poll in the schedule. That's handy, I think. Another feature that's been added, we can see in our drafts, for example. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that preference unchecked. If we look into our drafts view, for example, now, we've got a side panel available on our email transaction screens. So if we're looking at your incoming mail or your draft mail or your sent mail and you're looking for a particular message, much more like Outlook, if you're familiar with that, or Gmail has these features, all modern email clients, and now we're definitely getting into a more robust territory here with email processing in Acumatica. You can open up a side panel, and as you transition through your emails, you can see that the side panel updates for you automatically. The system will also track read and unread statuses of those emails. So anybody using email in the system, I think that's a great feature. All right, so we're gonna actually now switch gears a little bit and talk about search. Acumatica's added a new feature to manage the search functionality in Acumatica. So if we go, for example, into our journal transactions and we search for something like labels, we can see that we're not finding labels, but nothing's been found for labels, and that's all it says. If we look at our site preferences screen, we'll notice that under the table settings section, we can differentiate how the search functions in its condition. So right now we're looking for anything that contains our search string, but we can also specify now that it should start with our search string. So if we've got a lot of records in the system and we really know what we're looking for, we want to specify that we want it to start with that criteria. We can change that setting here. And basically what it does is takes the SQL query that the system runs in the background and removes the asterisk from the front of the query and only has it at the back of the query. So instead of quotes or asterisks around the query, it now will look for anything that only starts with our search string. So if you look here, let's refresh the screen. And now when we search for labels, it says that nothing has been found that starts with labels, but also handily, we can rerun our search quickly that will include results that contain labels, should we have one. So we can use both functions, but definitely make it a little more dynamic for us there. Okay. Now, the next feature and last one for the day that I'm going to get into is probably the biggest change that I will note for our distribution clients, and that has to do with order management. Acumatica has added new functionality for blanket sales orders. And much like purchase orders, we can now manage sales orders in bulk, basically. So we can run blanket orders to have multiple ship to addresses, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later, and multiple delivery dates. So a lot like purchasing, if we have a new order that we have an agreement with our customer, and we're going to honor that price until a certain date. They've agreed to take so many of our widgets, and they want to have those delivered on a schedule, or maybe they're a large client with multiple locations. They want to have those delivered to various places. We can manage all of that in one place and with very powerful processing. So this all starts with an order type. And if we look into our sales order types, we'll notice now that we have a new type called blanket order, uses the code BL. And if we drill in there, we'll notice that we have under our template settings, you can see that the automation behavior now is set to blanket order, and the AR document type is no update. So that's important to know because the processing will be extended through our blanket order. So let's go ahead and create a new order here. And we can talk a little bit about how this functionality works, some of the changes to the screen when we choose our blanket order type. Select a customer like usual. Notice that we have a new field in the date section, and that's our expires on date. So our bartending school has agreed to take some coffee, and they want to have that delivered over time, over a period of time. And we've agreed to honor the price until the end of the month. So we're going to add some items here to our cozy blanket order. And if I pull up some inventory items here, for example, maybe I want £10 of our whole beans, working through some coffee drinks this month. And you can see here we've got a couple of new fields in our order details. The scheduled order date, you'll note that we can now specify by line item. So just like in our standard sales orders, if we want these to ship out at different times, we can specify when we want that to happen. But this will also extend through our processing screen, which I'll highlight in a minute. And we can use those dates for scheduling orders in the future as they go through. If this, for example, were a purchase to order item and I needed to have that item ordered to fulfill this from our vendor, or maybe this is a drop ship order and we want to have that purchase order coordinated with the order date on our child order and delivery, we can specify here a PO creation date. So when we have our system set up to automate creating POs and sending those out to our vendors based on our order status, we can have our inventory really just in time for the fulfillment date. So I'm going to fill this one right away, and it's going to go to the main location. It's not a purchase to order item, so that doesn't apply in this case, but just suffice to say that if we didn't have the item in stock and we wanted to deliver another line item, for example, of the same order, same item, we want that one to happen. We'll need another 10, have those delivered next week, but we don't want to purchase them until Monday of that week, so that we can keep our inventory levels down, our safety stock at a minimum, and keep that capital available for other things. We can also have this line item. We can add another a line for example, our other coffee item. We're going to have 10 pounds delivered also today, but these are going to go to a secondary location, and we can have all of this maintained from one place. So let's save our order there. Okay, so you'll notice that we have a few fields that are new. We also have one for customer order. So if we had a different customer order number on these lines, we could group our child orders based on our customer's order number as well. So you'll note that here we have a button at the top for create child orders. And that would be the next logical step in our sales order processing. But we're going to send out a confirmation of this one to our customer. So let's print one and see how that looks. I'm not necessarily going to print this on paper. Maybe we can send it out in an email, and those user-generated emails, it'll go out right away, or we want to just save it as a PDF for later. We can do that and export it here. So you'll notice on the blanket order, we've got some new groupings here, and we have groups by ship to location, as well as order date. So you can see here that this is how our child orders are going to get generated. One order to the Las Vegas location and another order to the primary location. Now I could click generate child orders, create child orders here, and the system would do that for this order alone, or we could use our order processing screen. If we go to the process orders screen like we do for other standard sales orders, we can actually have our create child orders action scheduled. So you can see now that my end date is 5/11. But if I had a date before that, or if my order was for a future date, it wouldn't appear here, which means that we can actually add a schedule for this. If we don't already have our child orders being generated on a schedule, we can have the system look for any orders that come up that are ready for processing and do that automatically for us. So it's really powerful, really great for automating our actions, less user interaction, and more time to satisfy our customers' orders. So if I were to click process here, once the system gets through processing, you'll note that it has generated our child order. If we go back to our sales order screen, we'll note that we now have new child order. Here's our blanket, and we have 2 child orders ready to go on today's date for the various locations. So you can see this one, we've got 10 items going to our main location, and the second order, we've got 10 pieces for the Vegas location. All that's ready to go. Our system can resume normal processing. If we have shipments being generated automatically, all of that will continue happening in the background. If we dive back into our blanket sales order here, another feature that we've got is the ability to split out a line. So if we dive into our line details here, for example, we can see we've also got a couple of new fields on the line split table. So our scheduled order date is available here. Our PO creation date is available here. And maybe we want to, our customers asked to have 5 of these delivered ahead of time and 5 at a later date. If I reduce the quantity here, the system should generate a second line. Oh, sorry for that, guys. But what I meant to highlight there is that the system will allow us to split out a line, and even within one line have separate order dates and separate PO creation dates. So if changes happen in the order later, we don't necessarily have to add another line. We can use the same line on our sales order and split that up using the line details table. So if there are any questions, I'd like to open it up for questions now. There are a lot more new features in Acumatica 22 R1, but these are the ones we've just decided to highlight today. And if we have any questions, we can open it up to you for that now.
Thanks, Nathan. Good presentation. Any questions from anybody? There's some really nice features that are gonna help all of us work a little bit more efficient with Acumatica. So if you have any questions, please write them down or let me know if you want to talk, and I'll unmute you. You want to raise your hand? Well, doesn't seem like we have any questions. In that case, we really, really appreciate you spending some time with us. If you have any questions later on, feel free to go ahead and, oh, somebody's raising their hand. Hold on one second. Who is raising their hand?
Oh, that's Jessica. Hi, Jessica. Question is the line details the new name for allocations? Line details exists in the system in other places too, but it is where you will find your allocations as well. So yes, in short, to answer your question, line details is where the allocations are located in a sales order or a PO.
Okay. Anyone
Max
else?
is asking if there will be an email of the recording so that our visitors can review on their own later. And there will be
Absolutely.
a recording available, and it'll be available on our website as well. If you go into the events page on our website, you'll see any upcoming events, and you'll also find past events listed on our blog page.
And they're all sent via email to everybody who registers for the event.
Awesome.
Anyways, if later on you need to reach to us and ask anything, you can reach at support at PC Bennett or sales at PC Bennett, and we will be happy to answer your questions. Once again, we really appreciate your time today. And thank you. Excited about the new features. That's awesome, Marilyn. Yeah, our job is to train you and teach you how to use the new functionality. Most of you are on customer care, so please go ahead and reach out to us, and we will implement and train you on any new functionality that's available that you already own the software for.
Yep.
And if not,
And with two
sell it.
major updates a year. And with 2 major updates a year, there are definitely a lot of new features and functionality coming out. So please do reach out to us, and we'll be happy to walk you through all the upcoming stuff and make best use of all the features that you already have.
So thank you, and we will see you in a month.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.